everybody, this is Mateo, and we are fighting a Magmar in blue. Because this is the very last Pokemon that we have to catch by trading, other than, like, Eevee and Kabuto and Hitmon. I think we actually got Hitmonchan, but Kabuto and Eevee, Pokemon that we already know how to get. I just need multiple of, because they have different forms, or I could only get one of them. But whatever, so here we are catching Magmar. If you would notice, I'm using a Jolteon because I tried to use an evolution in each 3 of the games. In yellow, I obviously used Flareon. In blue, I obviously used Jolteon, which just fainted. Hooray for that. And in red, I used Vaporeon. And if I were to rate the 3, I would put Vaporeon at number 1, Flareon at number 2, and Jolteon at number 3. And Jolteon might be able to beat Flareon, but I just didn't use it enough to figure out whether I liked it or not. It really, the only purpose it ended up serving was weakening this Magmar right here. So I'm just going to weaken it up a bit more because I forgot to buy Ultra Balls when I went into the Pokemon Mansion over here. And yeah, I'm going to need to try Pokeballs because of that, so go me! This is going to take slightly longer now. And now we're going to throw stuff. We're still missing. It is because of this guy right here, this Magma Human Duck thing, that I had to play through almost the entire game a 3rd time. That's probably the main reason why I really didn't feel like recording this after a while, is because I was basically playing the same game 3 times in a row. And that's, especially in a row, that gets kind of old. I mean, I get like playing your favorite game multiple times. I've played most of these games multiple times, but not in a row. It gets kind of old. I mean, even with, I tried to make it a little more interesting for me by using different Pokemon and stuff, but still sometimes it wasn't all that interesting to me. And for whatever reason, the sound cuts off here for like 2 minutes. Apparently, the very first time I was recording this, I didn't even notice it, and I went through the entire episode. The sound comes back. I checked into it. But story time. The very first time I recorded this episode, I went through the entire 15 minutes or whatever. Didn't notice that the sound was off for whatever reason. And I recorded it. Then Audacity crashed and I lost the file. So that sucked. And that was on Friday. And now here I was today recording this like 5 minutes ago earlier. And then I noticed that the sound cut off. And I was just like, okay, did something break? Did my speakers magically unplug? Did my sound card die? Stuff like that. So I stopped recording, I checked into it, and it turns out that for whatever reason, I just had the sound off at this point. Might have been because I was listening to music while catching the Pokemon and stuff, and I just forgot to unmute it. So yeah, that's one thing that I suggest doing. If you could somehow like multitask or listen to music or something while you're either grinding or just looking for Pokemon, then that would make it slightly less boring. And also, I'm just going to show here that we now have a Kabuto. If you don't remember where to get Kabuto, we got it in Mount Moon in like part 5 or something like that from the Super Nerd. And he evolves at level 40, not level 53. However, I just caught him in the place with the really high level Pokemon, so he would evolve in 1 level and it wouldn't take that long. And he evolves into one of my favorite Pokemon in Generation 1. Mainly for the weapons for arms, that's pretty cool. Okay, now the sound's back, hooray for that. But Dratini, at level 30, learns Slam, but not only that, it will evolve. And because I was actually training with the Elite Four because I needed money for more Ultra Balls, and because they give more experience, I'm going to cut here. I forgot to record Dratini evolving, but at level 30 it does evolve. Here it is. It's a Dragonair. It's a thinner and longer snake dragon thing. And at level 55 it learns Hyper Beam, and then it will evolve again. So at least you'll be able to hear its cry once, maybe, and you'll be able to see it evolve into quite a major change. I don't know what Dragonair looks really, really cool. Dragon Knight looks slightly less cool in my opinion. I mean, in this generation it's not so bad because it actually looks kind of threatening. But in later generations it just kind of looks like, oh hi, and it's like waving at you and it's bright or whatever. So, nah, that's just a thing about Dragonite. But that's it for all the regular Pokemon. Now we just have the legendary Pokemon, and there are 5 of them. So we're going to be spending the rest of this episode catching some of them, and the rest of the next episode catching them all and getting my diploma and ending this off. So we are currently heading to Seafoam Islands, which is the location of the first legendary bird of the legendary bird trio. And in case you never noticed, I mean, it took me a while to figure this out, like 5 years. I was like, no, not 5 years, but it took me like 3 years after I played this game to figure out Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres. And by the way, I was forced back there. There's a current. Although it doesn't look it in this game, it's there. It's because of limitations that they couldn't show it or whatever. But yeah, these 3 have their names based on the Spanish 1, 2, 3. Why they went for Spanish, I don't know. But it works. So I'm going to catch them in the order of Uno, Dos, Tres, or Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. And it kind of fitting because when I was a kid I always viewed Moltres as the leader of the 3. Because for whatever reason I had to have a leader for every single trio or whatever, like the 3 Musketeers, they had their obvious leader or whatever. Well, Moltres was their leader just like I thought. Entei was the leader of the legendary dogs or whatever. I think I was really into fire types or whatever, because that's how I viewed it. Or it might have been because I saw Moltres as the leader that I just naturally saw Entei as the leader because he's a fellow fire type and relatable to Moltres. But then it turns out that Lugia technically is the real leader because you need all 3 of them to get Lugia or whatever. And Lugia is just often associated with the 3 legendary birds of this game. Even though you can't catch the 3 legendary birds in Crystal, Gold, or Silver, but whatever. Basically, this is a pretty short area, and that's the only strength puzzle here. And this is the other place I was thinking of when I said the strength puzzle thing in Victory Road. But with that, we blocked the current, and now we have a generic-looking bird thing. However, this bird is anything but generic. Over here, we have Articuno, who's really cool looking. I mean, it looks like an ice phoenix thing. And the tail is pretty awesome, too. But Flareon, you should do good. I mean, you're a fire type, this thing's ice, you should be able to be super effective. Never mind. You are frozen. This has become a running joke of Flareon. Yay, I dislike that. So the one last time that Flareon could have been useful, and it's a no. But either way, each legendary bird has only 2 moves. One of them is a flying type move, and the other, usually Peck. I think Zapdos has Drill Peck instead, but the other 2 have regular Peck. Moltres might have Drill Peck, I don't remember. But then they also have a second move based on their type. For instance, Articuno is the ice type, and as you saw, it used Ice Beam, which you are now seeing again. So that's that. And that's the only 2 moves you have to watch out for. So if you have something that resists both those things, you're good to go. And Peck is just a weak move altogether, so you really don't have to worry about it whatsoever. I'm going to try to get some Slam on this to do less damage, because Takedown took out half its health and would probably faint it. Critical hit, nice, we're down to like 10 HP at most. So now we're going to start throwing Ultra Balls, and as you can see I have 107 of those things. So I don't think we'll have to worry about running out. That should be enough for the rest of the game. Might have gone a bit overkill on buying the Ultra Balls, but I don't care, I had money. Screw the rules, I have money. That is your one Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged reference, yes. And the deal with the legendary Pokemon is that you won't, like, pop them in and, like, it'll shake twice and break free. Instead, you'll just miss the Pokemon completely. So, that's kind of good and bad. It'll make you more annoyed because you're just like, it's a 20-foot bird. How do you miss throwing a ball at that? I mean, that's kind of what I was shouting when I was raging at this. And well, it's a good thing because once you see it, just like the little ball sprite, you'll know that you caught it. I mean, there's no possibility of it breaking free once you got the little ball sprite to show up as shown. And we got our Pokedex info for Articuno. It is the freeze Pokemon. It freezes water that is contained in winter air and makes it snow. So basically this thing controls winter. So there shall no longer be a winter because of me. Yay! And now we are going off of Route 10, the entrance to Rock Tunnel. And thank goodness we don't have to go through that area again. Instead we have to go all the way up here and surf. Once I find a Pokemon that... There we go. And we are heading over to a power plant, which you might remember from Crystal. It is actually abandoned 3 years earlier, which is when this game takes place. Well, Crystal takes place 3 years after Yellow, but whatever. But yeah, the power plant is abandoned, not really making any power for anything. And there are a whole bunch of Pokeballs here, although half of them are electrodes, so I don't suggest picking any of them up. Especially if you're doing this when I'm doing it, and you already beat the most difficult parts of the game. Well, other than catching the other legendary. But really shouldn't have to worry about it that much. I mean, it's mainly just stat boosting items like proteins and iron and stuff. And you don't... That is barely useful at that. If you need money, you could sell them. Otherwise, not really worth risking an encounter with an electrode. Now, if you're using a map or something and you know which is which, then go ahead and grab them. But I'm not, so I'm not. And also, here's a battle that I forgot to cut out. Yay, go slow, bro, run away. There we go. So, there's your one random encounter for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. So many Pokeballs. I mean, there were just 4 on the screen for once, and I can assure you that at least one of them was an electrode. But moving through this maze of an area, it's actually a lot larger than it is in Crystal. I don't understand why, but whatever. There are also a lot more walls, and why did they make the power plant like a maze? Whatever. There's a whole bunch of trash on the floor, too. And we are nearing the... There we go, and that passageway to the left is an easy way out. However, we have reached generic bird number 2. Except it is not a generic bird, it is a giant lightning spiky thingy. Who is pretty cool looking in this generation. I mean, his wings are a little short. And it's not... They're kind of just like sticking out of his entire body rather than just being out a part of it. But otherwise, pretty cool. I like how his head is positioned, how his legs are just like... They look like they're out to grab you or whatever. That's not weak enough to catch it. You're going to want to get them in the red status. And if you can hit them within... what's the status ailment, that all the better. Now, Zapdos's, instead of knowing Peck, it knows Drill Peck. Which is a much more powerful flying type move, so you'll actually have to watch out for that. And it also knows either Thundershock or Thunderbolt, and if it knows Thundershock, then wow. I need to pay attention more so I could see which one it uses. Either way, throw more Ultra Balls. Missed. Still using Drill Peck, which is smart because Dugtrio is ground type. But it used one of the Thunder attacks earlier. However, if it's only using Thundershock, that means that my Pikachu is better than a legendary, and it could be a legendary, because it knows Thunderbolt and Thunder, and it's the only one of its kind that you can get in this game, just like a legendary. So I now announce that Pikachu is a legendary Pokemon. So take that, Zapdos, and giving Flareon one last chance, and there we go, we caught it. Hooray. And with that, we are going to catch Moltres in the next episode and finish everything up. And I will see you all then. And now we control storms, by the way. So we control winter and storms.